What did y'all say? If our answer's in that range, we're gonna win. Everyone's putting like +7 margin. I'm like, the way to win is going low.
Y'all are really confident. Say again.
We're 85% confident. Why'd you pick 48? You picked the biggest range to what was that? +9?
No, like.
No, no, it's okay.
No,
No, it's okay. It's the last year. I'm getting to that.
We'll see.
You mean you do that anyways? I don't.
What is it?
What?
Like it's just the number that we did find.
Yeah, I got like smart.
I do out of feedback. I thought you were doing your
Okay, as you're writing these down, anybody not write theirs down yet? Is everyone good? Y'all have? Y'all have not yet? Okay.
I feel like so I feel like that's my
Hey, as we're doing this, let's give out tickets as people are writing this. Just go into number 2. Numbers 1, numbers 3, numbers 4, number 5 is really yours, okay? So we're not even going to review that. That is just like what you're feeling, okay? I was telling, I think it was Emily and then a couple others of you, when I went through this and as I reviewed it, like, hey, how am I going to approach this? It becomes confusing because margin of error, later on, we're going to have a formula for this. All I'm looking for today is what is a confidence interval? That is what we're asking, okay? And why it's important. So as we look at the population, someone raise their hand and tell me what is the population for this thing that we're looking at. Just raise your hand. I'll get some tickets out. Emily, you got some?
All AP students at JC.
Great. Yeah, very good. What's the parameter there, Charles?
I didn't really find one, so I put like the number that like represents all.
You're right, because we don't know it, right? And that's what we talked about today is a lot of times we don't know the parameter, and that's okay because we estimate it using our nicely done. Yeah, and that's what we're looking at. What is our sample? Someone raise their hand and tell me what our sample is. Hannah, you got something?
The 5 randomly selected scores.
Good. Yeah, and what was your statistic, Harry? What was your statistic? I saw you raise your hand on your sample.
Oh, I don't know. I know what the sample is. I don't know what the statistic is.
So your sample's of size 5, right?
Yeah.
Your statistic is the number that describes those 5. So what was yours is going to be different.
Oh, mean, right?
Yeah, your mean. So we call that our, Ivana, do you know what we call that notation-wise? X bar, exactly. That's what we're looking at. All right, the moment of truth for 4 tickets each person. Oh, man, this feels good. This feels good. Should we have like a review? How should we do this? Hey, real quick, before I go to that, this is important, okay? Because this idea is important. Hannah, Emily, y'all are down here, right? I like y'all's team name. That's good. That's good right there. Team Meme Lord?
That's
Is that you? Okay, cool. King Claudius and Jester Bow. Okay, I got you. That's good. Ryan and Ivana, Team C. Very good. Very creative names today, y'all. All right, so as we look at this, I'm going to go to Emily and Hannah just because they were the first one I saw there. Y'all said y'all were 48% confident, right? What if I took like this confidence interval and I extended it out? Got me? My question is if I extended this out and it went from 30 to, I just made it up, 70 something, okay? What would happen to my confidence percentage? Would you be more or less confident? More confident, right? Because if it contained more, right? If it was lower to higher values, you'd be more confident. But let's go to Team Meme Lord over here. What if, Harry, I said, you know what, that's too wide. I want to actually push that in. What would happen to your confidence percentage?
Go shoot down.
You'd be less confident. y'all get that idea? Okay. That if you get that today, that's good stuff. Okay. All right. Coming back to it. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna throw out the teams that are not in there. Okay. So. Oh man, this is close. Team C. I'm sorry. Ooh.
Bro.
Sorry. I would say that's pretty tight right there. That's pretty tight. Was your margin of error too?
Yeah.
Cool.
We did 56.
King Claudius and Jester. I'm sorry, y'all. Not quite there. Every other one is good. Every other one's good. I'll say Team C. You're gonna be upset with me. You ready? Because the average. Well, this is raw score, okay? So don't think like, oh man, we did bad. Remember, AP score is different, right? It's different. It was 53.5. You were very close. Very close. Therefore, the winning team is the team that has the lowest margin of error. Okay? So that means out of the three right now, the winning team was, this was like 9 was your margin of error?
You're not looking at Kristen and Rita.
Oh,
have
Kristen
it
and Rita.
actually.
Are we out? Are we out?
No, you
No,
won.
you're won.
And y'all won.
Oh, wait, what?
I didn't even see y'all over there. Team Kristen and Rita, what was your margin of error? 3. What was everybody else's margin of error that's still in?
Calm down.
Ours was 4.8.
4.8. Okay. Anybody else?
That's a 9.
Ours was 2.
None? 2. Yeah. Y'all were close. Y'all would have won if y'all contained it, right? Does that make sense? Kind of how we're doing it? Okay. Cool. Let's keep going. And we'll go from there. Let's take a look at this idea. Someone flipped that on me. Number 6. Okay, number 6. Let's just think through this based off of what we just did. One of the groups, let's say, got 71 to 79. Okay, let's just say that they did. What was their point estimator? I'm going to kind of put it here and just say point estimator. What was their point estimator? Can anyone kind of think through that, Jared?
75.
Why?
Because there's an range of 8, so halfway between is 75.
Good. Is everyone good with that? We good with that? Cool. Very good. So what we would say, if I wanted an actual like formula thing, it would be A plus B divided by 2. Okay? Say, Coach, what's A and B? A and B is just 0.1, the lower bound one for a confidence interval, and the upper value divided by 2 would equal that 75 that's there. Okay? Cool. I think you probably could do this. Claudia, do you know what the margin of error would be on this?
No.
That's okay. We know.
Oh, I was thinking you were talking about the percentage. It would be 4 or 8.
I think that's 4. Yeah. I was just looking at it because it's 4 plus or minus, right? And how I do that is I'll take my highest, 79, divided by 71. So really this is A minus B, and then divided by 2. Okay? So once I get that, I'll get 4. Margin of error 4. Cool. Awesome. Okay, so this one, number 7, kind of moves into where we're going to be. This is actually the last. Is this the last thing? Last thing before the golden nugget, okay? So again, we're not doing too much, just understanding what is a confidence interval is what we're doing today, okay? Coach Jake claims that the true mean exam score, this would not be the raw one, not the raw score, but that the true mean score is 84, coming back to number 6 here. Does your interval support or deny this claim? Does this interval appear support or deny this claim?
It would deny it because it's not in their range, first of all. And if you're doing another standard deviation of +4, it's still not even in the range. So there's like a small chance, like 2 point something, for it to support it.
You said that perfectly. Is not inside my range of my confidence interval. Okay? Now, if I find a 95% confidence interval, does that mean that I'm guaranteeing that my true mean is in between my confidence interval? No. kind of moving a little bit forward on this. If you don't get this concept, that's okay. We'll hit it again. If I'm 95% confident, we'll talk about what that looks like in the future. Then that means what percentage of my, if I ran this test over and over and over again, right? What percent of my samples will capture my true mean? Okay, let me make sure I say this right. Which ones captured the true mean? Boom, 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 and boom, right? Okay? These ones did not. Cool? Question, if I'm 95% confident that whatever confidence interval captures my true mean, that means that what percentage of my samples will capture my true mean? 95%. Exactly. Okay? And again, we'll look at that a little bit more. If you're like, oh, coach, that's a little bit tough, we'll talk about that more after Martin Luther King Day on Tuesday. Okay? Cool. Cool. All right, let's go to this next part, this idea of golden nugget. Let's do it. Let's go do the golden nugget here. Love. All right, point estimate. Let's do this thing. Point estimate, just as a definition, is a statistic that provides a reasonable guess. Can anyone finish this? Guess of what?
I guess of the true mean.
About the population parameter. Good, and that's the true mean or true, it could be anything, right? Population parameter. Now we did mean, right? We talked about mean. It could also be, p hat could be estimating mu. I'm sorry, no, that was wrong. P, or what could be estimating mu. X bar, yeah, there you go. Depends on what world we're living in, right? Cool, that's the first thing. Bless you there. All right, next thing, a confidence interval. Confidence interval is a point estimator. So this equals point estimator plus or minus my margin of error. Margin of error. Cool. We'll talk about how to calculate that later next week. All right, so for confidence interval A and B, okay, what does that mean? That means that we have A point and B point. My point estimator is equal to what? We already kind of said this, right?
A plus B
Mm-hmm.
over 2.
Good, Ivana. Yeah, and what's the margin of error, Ivana? Ivana, what do you got?
It's cool.
Sorry, they're asking them
I got you.
Sorry.
Go ahead. What were you? Good. Nicely done. Good stuff. Okay. Did I write something weird?
Oh, I just can't. That's a B, not a 13, right?
Yeah, it should be B. My fault.
Sorry.
It's going fast. I have good handwriting when I want to, and then sometimes I
feel that.
don't. Yeah, you feel that? Okay, a big part. You have not yet. Hanny got something?
Oh no, I was just stretching.
Okay.
We're not old enough.
Say again.
We're not old enough.
You're not old enough yet for a lot of this. But if you understand like the idea of the confidence interval, you're good to go, okay? Good stuff. I've got to practice like when I tell my kids that, so like you're not old enough. Not it? All right, let's go to this next part. Very important, okay? Very, very important what we're about ready to do. This is the interpretation of a confidence interval, okay? So interpretation of a confidence interval. This is something you just memorize. There's nothing really great about it. You just got to know it, okay? So here's how we would say this. We are blank percent confident that our true parameter is captured from, I just want to make sure I said it kind of differently. We could say we are blank percent confident that our true parameter is captured by our interval from A to B. And A and B are the actual numbers themselves, okay? All right, so question. Someone want to take it real quick. Feel really confident. These numbers are not accurate, okay? That's okay, because you're not old enough yet to do the actual numbers. But what we can do is an interpretation. Does someone want to interpret their percentage and their interval based off of what we just said right there? Jared, I saw you first. Come on.
So, like based off our maneuver.
Mhm.
So we got a standard, or not a standard deviation. We got our point estimate of 56.
Cool.
So we wanted to go out a little bit more, but not too much. We want to keep the variability pretty tight.
Mhm.
So we knew it was going to be around there. So we were obviously only 0.5 off. So that's why we felt pretty confident, but we weren't sure like how if it was upper or lower.
Could you do this for me? Interpret it like if I said, hey, interpret this confidence interval, because they'll say that on the AP exam.
Okay.
What would you say in terms of your numbers and your percentage? Cool.
Okay, so ours, we had 56, so then we had a margin of error of +2, so our confidence interval was 54 to 58.
Mhm.
And then our percentage was just how confident we were in it, right?
I like that. Could we do this? Let's put it a little more concise on that. You hit everything. A little more concise. Cool, Claudia? Can you do it?
We are 60% confident that our true parameter is captured by our interval from, oh, sorry, I can't read. 57.06 to 63.34.
Good. Does that make sense? That make sense? Kristen, do you want to do your interval with your interpretation?
We are 50% confident that our true parameter is captured by our interval from 52.6 to 58.
Good. Very good. Is 50% a high confidence?
No.
No, that's not very confident at all, right? I would say is 85% pretty confident? It's better, but we really want to we want to increase that, okay? So think 95% the majority of the time. In fact, the majority of the time it's going to be we are 95% confident. All right, I think there's one more thing. Oh yeah, and this is just a quick note. Just write this down. A confidence interval gives plausible values. It's plausible, right? It's not exact. It's plausible. So we could be pretty doggone sure that when we run our study, that the true proportion of high schoolers who own AirPods is between this to this, right? So it gives plausible values, okay? All right? Good stuff. Hey, how did that feel today? Did it feel okay?
Yes, sir.
I think it's going to be, I actually like this unit because it starts going towards more of a formula, and you'll see why I say that as we go forward. Here's what I would say to do. We're seeing, we may come back to the check your understanding. Okay, we may. Do y'all need a breather real quick?
Sure.
Y'all need a breather? I'm going to give you like 2 or 3 minutes. Don't tell anybody. If you want to get on your phone real quick, you need to go use the restroom. 2 to 3 minutes, and then we'll come back together because I need you focused for this next section. Cool? All right, go ahead. Yes.
Okay. Did I do this right?
So like, do I put
Yes.
okay, so I did this. Is this, am I doing probability or area?
The area and probability are the same.
Sure will.
There is sufficient evidence the proportion of male callers has increased.
You know what I should have landed yesterday? That picture I sent in the chat.
I would, a lot of times, and you'll see this going, I would give full credit on that.
When I was walking.
There's a little bit easier way
Yes.
of saying the confidence thing, but right now,
Because it makes me
that's
giggle.
perfect. You're
Well,
good.
you said that we're supposed to like
She was
be
like,
detailed, so I didn't know if I was
so
supposed to.
Yeah, we all know.
I was like, I'm aware.
Perfect. You said that great. You did great.
I feel like
Hey, if you've got your scores, would you mind doing me a favor and just I'll come around and collect them right here. Good stuff. There you go.
Unless it was like,
Last person on earth.
Still winning.
Dude, I'm following my human duties as a man.
So we're,
Is that so wrong? That I
Also,
won't
you don't
say
mention
man for humankind.
Only man.
do you have any questions?
Yeah.
Sorry, humankind. I couldn't get
I don't
myself.
think so. What we're
Oh,
doing.
let me know.
Okay, thank you.
It's okay. Did you see how
I
you
just I can't win.
Rita, do you have your permission slip?
also the record kids?
Yeah, it's fine.
We made
Um,
Mrs. Fry today.
I didn't.
No.
Jared, do you have your permission slip?
Yes, sir. It's in the. it's
Me
in
and
the
my
big book.
fantastic acting.
You're good?
Scared
Kristen, did you get yours?
I'll bring it.
Charles, do you have your permission slip?
Yes, sir.
Well, you can just put it on the left